Okay, we're recording. So thank you all for joining. We appreciate Maggie taking her time up this evening to help help you all and help the juniors, those that are in the golf space and wanting to advance their career or just know more about junior golf or about college recruiting. Interesting that Maggie and I knew each other, but we didn't. One of my really good friends that played on the Riverview High School team in Sarasota with me, Mark Lopi, we were both seniors and graduated, and his sister played college golf with Maggie at Furman. So when we met, I guess, was it about a year ago, and we started talking about different things about golf, and we realized we had that connection. It was kind of cool because I knew Kristen very well from when she was here, and Mark and I became friends being on the golf team for several years.
Small world.
Small world, isn't it? And then what I'd like to do for each of you on the phone is, for the benefit of Maggie, is to tell us your junior's name, girl or boy, age, and then if there's one thing that's burning in your mind that you'd like to know or that you feel it's important in advancing your junior's golfing towards, if it's a college scholarship or whether it's what tournaments to pick, or tell us one thing so that we make sure we try to cover that through either something she brings up ahead of time or through the Q&A. So if we could start, we'll just go down the line. So if we could start with Jody, and if you could go, and then we'll just go down the line on the list.
Hello, this is Jody. So my junior is Mackenzie Sullivan. She's 15. And I guess the biggest burning question for me is, I play college golf as well, but dates me. I go back to the 80s. So things are much different then. And then now with COVID, I'm concerned about, I want to market my daughter with social media, yet I'm afraid to do too much on it because it seems kind of cheesy. But if that's the only way for coaches and stuff to see her and know what she's doing, I'd like a little more clarification of that. And then also how important it is to play in national events, like right now, as far as the travel and everything like that, or our coaches looking at certain states like Florida being a really highly competitive type of state for just kind of like junior tournaments, maybe within the state, like FSGA, UGE, things like that. Sorry, that's a lot, but thanks.
All right. Good.
More the merrier. That's great.
Linda, if you want to chime in.
My junior golfer is Michael Thomas. He's going to be a senior, and I think I pretty much have a lot of the same questions as it was Jody. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yes, as she just had. Want to make sure you're getting in the right tournaments and things like that, so that you can get noticed.
Okay. Good. Andy.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Maggie. So my name's Andy Hosier. My daughter, Lauren, is our junior golfer. She's 16, will be a junior starting this fall. So she's a class of 2023. And pretty much exact same question is related to what's the best fit, for her, the right type of events to play in.
Okay. Very good. Christina and Matthew, if either one of you want to chime in.
So this is Christina. I just want to know, Maggie, if so Matthew is 17, he's going to be a senior this fall. Maybe we're a little bit late to the game, but given where we are, what are the most important things that he needs to be doing, or scores that he needs to be achieving, or what's the best way for him to get attention of the coaches at this stage?
Okay. And Ken, it looks like you joined in. If you want to introduce yourself and what you've got two juniors. Or either Jenny or Ken, one of the two.
Hey, Brian, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Jenny.
Hey, Yes, my name's Jenny, and I have two junior golfers, two girls, one who's starting high school this year and one who is a senior this year. And I'm guessing my senior is talking to coaches. I'm at colleges. I'm not sure. I guess I want to know what's the best way to grab attention. Is it numbers and stats? Is it strength of schedule? What are they really looking at?
Okay. Good stuff. Appreciate those, that feedback and what's on your mind. That's going to help us tailor this. Just to give you an idea of what I see the format is, I'm going to introduce Maggie officially in a few minutes. She's got some things she's going to show, different things that will help you out, a little bit about her Will2Golf, and probably address proactively some of the questions that you brought up. And then we'll leave a little bit of time at the end because other things are probably going to come up during the discussion. That's going to mean you want to ask another question. So feel free to write those down. And, once she's done talking, or if there's something that you raise your hand, you can, if you're online, you can put in the question there. This is supposed to be interactive. We're trying to help you and inform you. As some people said, I mean, I played junior golf a long time ago, and it's surely a lot different. And I learned a lot of things with my son into it the last 4 years, and some stuff I didn't figure out until he was a junior, and I wish I would have known as a freshman. So some of the things that I feel like I wish I'd have known. I'm trying to share with others and help that out, and go to my friends and experts too, and bring them in to help where they can, such as Maggie. And some of as you've seen, some of the college coaches that I'm friends with too. I'm sharing that information where I can. I believe in the sport. I think regardless of whether you play pro or not, to get there and get a college scholarship, and then even if you don't play as a pro, it's still a great thing to have gone through that experience. And I use it with business a lot, and now I'm giving back through junior golf. So I love the sport. I'll play it until physically I can't play it anymore. The cool thing about having Maggie on is she's worn many different hats. And so I feel like whether have a boy or a girl junior golfer, she has been a college coach on both sides. She's been a head coach, assistant coach. She's played on the LPGA Tour. And then also she is, through her company that she's founded, Will2Golf. In that experience, I think there's a wealth of knowledge that she's going to be able to share. She'll go over a little bit about Will2Golf and what that's about and how that could help you. But again, just some of the things with her expertise to answer what's kind of hot topic right now. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Maggie, and appreciate again you spending the evening with us to help out the juniors.
Absolutely. Well, you guys have some great questions, and the answer to all of them is there isn't a right answer, but there are answers, and there are possibilities. First off, Mackenzie is a 2023 then, age 15, is that right?
Actually, like 2024 to 2025. Yeah, she just turned 15 in April, and she's Florida Virtual School, so she's going to be technically, because we just kind of did a half a year this year for personal reasons, so she'll really probably graduate 2025.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure about the age and all that. Okay, fine.
One quick comment: if anyone has any questions, you can put them, if you're online, you can put them in the chat, and I will make sure either myself or I'll bring them up to Maggie that we make sure we address. I see Andy just sent a question through the chat, so appreciate that. Anyone else that has that something comes up and Maggie's in the middle of a discussion, send me a text or send me a chat message, and I'll make sure we cover it.
And Jody, where'd you play college golf?
I was a Golden Rodent, University of Minnesota.
Hey, how about you?
I know. I was a big fish in a small pond, so that's what was available to me. But What year did you graduate from Furman?
I was 83, 87.
Okay, so very close. I redshirted 1 year and graduated 89. So I don't know if you know Kate Hughes or Karen Weiss.
Absolutely, yeah, very well. Yep, played on tour with him.
Cool.
That's
Okay,
funny.
cool.
Yeah. See, small world. There you go. And then I heard
Okay.
Christina say that she graduated from University of Richmond Law School.
I did.
Fabulous, fabulous. Yeah.
The spiders, right?
Yeah,
That's
I play golf
right,
at
the spiders.
yeah, I play golf at Country Club of Virginia. Obviously, I coach there, but I just saw I play right at the course that backs up to the school. I'm a member there, so
Oh,
yeah,
beautiful.
see it all the time. Yeah.
Cool.
And Matthew, you are getting ready. You're getting ready to be a senior, so you're 2022.
Yes, I am.
And would I embarrass you if I asked you? Have you been in conversation with some coaches? You don't have to say who, but have you gotten on the phone and that sort of thing with any of them?
I've had a couple email exchanges, but no live conversations. No.
And have you asked to have a live conversation with them?
No, I have not asked to have a live conversation with either of them.
That's what you're going to email them next.
Oh, phenomenal.
And that's for everyone. If prior to your junior year, you can talk to Division II, Division III, NAIA, junior colleges, things like that. But there are different timing on being able to do that with a Division I coach. Inside of the site, there are a lot of resources with the various recruiting rules and things like that, just sort of simplified, right? So that you can go through and see when I can do things.
So it's Maggie, it's broken up by freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and right, what you can and can't do.
Sorry,
Okay.
I just realized not everyone was on being able to see that, so sorry about that.
For the recording, it's good. They'll
Good for
eventually
you.
see it.
Good for you for pointing that out. Keep reminding me, Brian. Keep reminding me. So it appears that everyone's questions are centered around, people said them differently, but mostly it's like, hey, how do I make this happen? Right? I want to buy this car, or I want to sell this car, or whatever that is, and how do I go about doing it? And communication, just as I said to Matthew, have you had live conversations? And it's up to you. You are on the sell side, if we say. The coach is sort of on the buy side, right? And it's up to you to be selling. And I liked someone's question like, oh, how do I market them? I think it's cheesy, social media, blah, blah, blah. It's not, kids have Instagram accounts. College coaches can follow those. They can put up short videos. During COVID, when there were no ability to be seen by a college coach, I had kids going out and playing one hole of golf at their home club, and mom and dad were videoing it, and they were showing them walk-off yardages and use their laser and say how far it was and say what club they were hitting and why they were hitting that club and where the pin was. And, they could cut that down and make it into about a 1-minute video and send that in an email to the coach. The coach may or may not have been able to reach back out due to whatever how they could communicate by phone and things like that, but based on the grad year, right? The compliance of being able to communicate back. But they could start getting a feel for, hey, Matthew, Matthew knows how to, hit a 3-wood off a tee instead of always hitting driver, or, Matthew knows how to flight his wedge in because the shot was into the wind, or, Matthew does a really great job at reading his putts and, working on, not being too aggressive from a spot that he could have three putted from. He two putted. So those are ways that they can get to know you. And a lot of kids use their, if you want to call it social media, Instagram or that sort of thing to post that. So then they can sort of ask the coach to follow them in an email, or they can just send off these snippets of videos.
Hey, Maggie, real quick, I think someone's raising their hand. If it was something related you said earlier. Christina, did you want to jump in now while it's fresh in your mind, or is it okay if you wait to the end?
Yeah, so I guess one of the questions I had, Maggie, with regards to this was, so let's just take for an example, like the University of Tampa.
Yep.
We looked at the website, researched about the coach, about the team. I think they had like one or two seniors and everybody was shooting under 80. And so I just wasn't sure, like, is it worth our while to try to reach somebody if he's just not scoring under 80 regularly, and if they only have a couple of spots?
Okay, great question. The college coaches do, just when I think I know a college coach and how they're going to recruit and what they're going to do, they do something different, right? So you can't really read their mind and say, oh, they have two seniors, they're going to take two more players. They may only take one this year, and they might take three next year, or they might take three this year and zero next year. So you don't know unless you communicate. But that is a great question about the scoring. And I can just give you a little bit of how, generally speaking, a college coach determines who they're going to recruit. And they do it differently than maybe a junior golfer might on choosing the college. So a college coach, the number one thing they're interested in is scores that will help their team improve. So you're exactly right. They want to know that the junior golfer can help their team scoring average get lower, right? That's what they are. They are a golf coach. Do they care about academics? Do they care that your son or daughter really develops into a wonderful person, whether they play golf later or professionally or in business? Absolutely. They're coaches, and that's what they do. They believe in, helping young people develop. So that's why they're doing what they're doing. But they do want to be competitive. Now, sometimes Division III, it's a high-end academic, and yes, they want to be competitive, but they also have a big academic piece to fill to get that junior golfer into college to be able to play for them. So academics at all levels are important to them. So to the juniors that are on right now, Matthew, you might be the only junior golfer on the call, but tell all your friends academics are important at any level and at any school. It helps you if you're apples and apples with another junior golfer in that coach's eye and your academics are far and away better, they're going to be more attracted to you because they know they don't have to worry about that part. So those are the first two things that they're interested in. And another thing that they're interested in is, do they feel comfortable that you can play at the next level? So Matthew, were you in Tampa, or was maybe someone else was in Tampa, but, playing in, a city amateur tournament or a county amateur tournament or something like that, to play at something maybe a little bit higher than currently where you're playing. And the other thing is, if you're not necessarily at their level, so Jody, to this, or Christina, whoever asked, to that question, if you're not quite at their level, they can tell that you're on the rise or that you are trending in the right direction, and that interests them as well, because they know that you're going to continue to develop. So I always tell the juniors to stay humble, be humble. Don't write and say, oh, I see that, you have 4 players that don't break 80. I can break 80, so I should be on your team. No, you want to be humble and say, hey, coach, I'm trending in the right direction. I'd love to come and play for you. Could we have a conversation? Could you come watch me play? That sort of thing, right? So they want to see that you're trending in your scoring, that you'll be able to get there by the time that arrives, the following year. And then one of the things that I have yet to meet another coach who didn't like a young person with a can-do kind of attitude, right? They were gritty, they were organized, they had a willingness to learn. You just felt like that they were going to help your team in some way, somehow. And those are the ones that get scooped up, right? If it's, you struggle to have a conversation, you look like you're miserable on the golf course, it's just, they're not going to be interested in.
So they look to Maggie to ask real quick. So someone that demonstrates leadership skills, not only are they playing good golf, they've got a good attitude, but maybe they were the captain of the high school team, or in a Ryder Cup event that they were the captain, or some other things like that. That goes a long way, it sounds like, in demonstrating that they can help the team if they're having a bad, let's say, a tournament, off, but they're still helping the team, motivate them, pump them up. They see something in a player's swing or something, whatever. So it's those intangibles.
Yeah, my freshman year, I got left behind a couple times. I didn't make the top 5, travel team or whatever, right? But the guy who recruited me just knew that I was going to go out there and just beat it out of the dirt while they were gone, so that I could get on the next bus ride, right? So that I could play again. And I was, as Jody would say, I was a little fish in a big pond there at Furman. They were a lot of really good players there. So and to the other end about reaching out to the Tampa coach, if you don't feel like you're at that level, that's okay, and you could still write to them and say, hey, coach, I live nearby. I know I'm not at your level yet. Is there I'm going to come over and visit the school anyway. So book a time to go see the school as a student, and say, is there any chance that you would spend 15 minutes with me while I'm over there at the school? And hopefully, he'll write back and say, yes. If you can get that connection, whether that's the right school for you or not, you want to make an impression, so that when that coach is out recruiting and another coach says, hey, do you know any 2022s? I'm really struggling to find. Oh my gosh, I met the nicest young man, Matthew. He was organized. He knew he wanted to do these 3 things. He's doing them. He's a hard worker. I've seen his scores lately. They're trending in the right direction. They will, most, not everybody, but most will help you. So you really want to get that foot in the door, that connection, and go and visit, right? Because you might end up really liking that school, and it just fits you, but your game isn't quite there. But you develop a rapport with this coach, and maybe he says, hey, Matthew, you know what? Can you be our our statistician for a year while your game continues to develop, and then we'll revisit it. Maybe you can play some other tournaments and we'll revisit it. Maybe you can play on the team the next year. I don't know, because there are always so many different things going on, and there are so many programs out there, and every day it's a moving target, right? But you can't get in that moving target and in that game unless you email, pick up the phone, go visit. I mean, there's nothing like being able to send out an email to a coach and say, hey, coach, I was on the campus last week for a college tour as a student. I really like this, and this. Is there any way I could come back and spend some time with you? Ask for 15 minutes. More than likely, they're going to give you 30 or more, but ask for 15 minutes. Go with 2 really good questions. I'm really struggling with this in my game. If you were my coach, what would you say for me to do? Engage them that way. You show them that you're thoughtful, that you can recognize that you have problems, and that you have a few solutions, but you're open to other solutions. They really like that. So those are those things.
Hey, Maggie.
Yes.
In terms of visiting, and you brought up some excellent points. Is now, because they finished the golf season, is this kind of their period when they're not at practice and they're not, preparing for the next invitational or setting their schedule? Would you say, is there a specific time of the year that's better if they're going to reach out and try to meet the coach or go to the school? Is summertime good?
Summertime can be good, but I say to everyone, visit early and often, right? Start visiting, start driving your kid through a college campus. If somebody's there in Tampa, take them through South Florida, through Tampa, through Eckerd College, through what else? I mean, I'm drawing a blank, but there's just so many that you could go, just even drive through. You can always take virtual tours. I know a lot of schools have put those up now since the COVID thing. And, the earlier and the more often, the better, because the more knowledge you have, knowledge is powerful. So you want to just gain as much knowledge as you can. And for those of you who are like Mackenzie, who's the 2025, and I believe Jenny had a 2024, you just can't. The first few times they're going, looking at something, they're thinking, oh my God, Mom, Dad, I'm not there yet. I'm just a 9th grader, I've just started 10th grade. I don't care. Well, but ask them a few inquisitive questions about these things, like, hey, do you like this? Do you like that? Could you see yourself here? Oh, that looks like that's a fun place to hang out. What do you think about that? Anything to sort of get their imagination going and get them interested. And then when it comes time for them to actually have a live conversation with a college coach, they can say things like, oh, I visited right? 3 or 4 different schools. These are things that I like. Maybe the Kansas coach calls, Mackenzie in 2 years and says, oh, how would you, like to come to Kansas or whatever? And Mackenzie goes, I don't know Kansas, but I do know these 3 or 4 things. So she can have a conversation with the Kansas coach or with the Texas coach or with the North Carolina coach or whatever that is, because she has things to compare and she will have some information to be able to have that live conversation. But
so all the coaches can't specifically reach out to them when they're freshmen and sophomores up for Division I. I know it's different for the others, but
correct.
Them touring the campus, them going to visit the home course, them to look at the practice facilities, them to ask other players that maybe that they're friends or that they know of that are playing at that school. It's basically getting that information so that they know when they get to the real time of visiting or talking, they can have that conversation. They know what questions are on their mind, and it just makes them present better.
Well,
is that what you're saying?
A little bit of that's correct. You can always visit a college campus as a student. Okay. When you start doing things as a student athlete, meaning you want to visit practice facilities and engage with the coach and things like that, those NCAA rules come into play as to when that can happen, right? But you can always, always, always visit as a student. Any and all you want, the academic portions of it. Because here's something that coach really is interested as well. Is Mary, is Sally, is Jimmy, is Johnny, are they going to be happy here at school XYZ if something goes wrong? They break an ankle, for freshman year, fall term. are they going to stay in school, right? Did they love the school enough to stay here? Or are they then going to just bail and go to somewhere else, right? Because their job is to bring folks in that are going to graduate from that university or that college. And that brings me to a whole nother piece of the academics. So as a junior golfer, the number one thing, I know you're loving golf and you want to play golf and you want to play sport and everything, but the number one thing has to be, you know, am I going to like this school if I don't have the athletics? And can I, you know, can I get the major that I want at this school? And 98% of college athletes, Jody, you're one of them, they go pro in something other than their sport. I happen to be in that 2% that I went pro in my sport, but it's very, very unusual. 98% go pro in something other than their sport. So you want to make sure that you're not just going to spend 4 years there to get a degree that is something you're not interested in just because you wanted to play your sport. But that's me being a mom right now, and that's up to you and your parents to decide. But I just always kind of keep that in the back of your head that you know, you want to make sure that you can get to where you want to get to in life, and hopefully that's going to include this golf. And the second thing is for you would be as a student would be, you know, hey, do I have the scores, or am I trending to the scores that can help this particular team? And does it fit in my bucket, right? So I teach people to do 3 different buckets, and we call them reach, match, likely. So for, I don't know if we were talking about Matthew or someone else earlier, but you know, the 80 and they only have a few players or something. So you have to put things in buckets of reach, match, likely. And when you're a 25 or you're a freshman or whatever in high school, kind of almost everything's a reach, right? But then as you move along, things will become more in your match bucket. And then there'll be schools that'll start falling into your likely bucket. And you do it for academics and for athletics. And then you kind of see where's the cross there? Where are the ones that match me or I'm likely for? In it doesn't necessarily mean you'll get recruited there, because you have to communicate, right? You have to reach out to find, you know, to make that relationship. But it means that if you do start that relationship, that the coach is going to look at your profile, look at your scores, look at your academics and go, they might be a worthwhile candidate here. And we've already talked about the visiting, and it's just so difficult for young people to step out of their comfort zone and get into that live conversation or even go visit. It's so important. And another thing that I tell junior golfers, parents, whatever, is to ask, right? So tonight, that's what we're doing. We're asking. I'm a resource for you. So I'm trying to help you with some information that I might have. But there are also folks maybe where you play golf. There are folks that you run into, kids that are current players. And while sometimes it may not be the most perfect information that you might get from a current student athlete who might be home for summer, it will at least be information. And the last thing I would say is start trying to figure out, and mom and dad, start trying to help your junior golfer sort of figure out who are they, right? What are they sort of trying to accomplish, and help them with their you have to sort of lead them for a bit, right? Because you're driving them to the golf tournaments because they don't have a driver's license. So you have to sort of keep driving them on some things and helping them and giving them some, the right questions so that they can sort of start finding the answers within themselves. So those are, I think that covered a lot of stuff other than tournaments per se. And
Maggie, maybe you want to talk about, that's a good segue into you have it on the screen now. It says search the world's largest database of 12,000 golf tournaments. Find your tournaments now. Sounds like maybe you can answer some of the questions while at the same time demoing your particular site and how it's helpful. And I know I submit events to you, or you help me with get them into your system, and you have them categorized based on different levels of whether it's a 2-day or 1 day or whatever. So it sounds like that's a good point to go into.
Brian, this is Linda. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. But I just had a quick question pertaining to coaches looking at your scores and, like looking you up, looking at your scores. My golfer is Michael, and he's going to be a senior. And he spent probably about 3 tournaments, had good tournaments, and went down about 500 spots in the junior scoreboard ranking. And then this past weekend had a bad tournament and went up 300 spots. Now, what some of the kids that he knows do, because, the junior scoreboard only does 2-day tournaments, after the first day, if they've had a really bad day, they just withdraw, and then it doesn't count against them. And he didn't want to do that, and it cost him 300 spots. So, in your opinion, I know that's something a lot of them do. Is that something that they should do? Should they worry about it, or should he just work real hard now again to get those 300 spots back? What is your professional opinion on that?
Well, first, I want to say congratulations, Mom, and way to go, Michael, for finishing. Because
I know
that right there says a lot, and that's a story in and of itself. To a college coach, it's easy to explain that away. Hey, coach, I had a bad day. I stuck it out. Several of my friends quit. So their score doesn't count. I lost all these ranking points or whatever. Does that really matter? So that brings me up to a real quick video here that I'd like to play. Hopefully you can hear it.
If not, you can send me the link and I may be able to play it. Or I can include it later and send it out. Have you started it yet, Maggie?
I did, so you can't hear it.
I can see it.
You couldn't hear it. Okay. Well, I'll give you a summary of it real quick. So JC Deacon, it was a panel at the PGA show. And yes, I will send that link to Brian so everyone can see the link and look at it. And it was Ryan Crabtree and Emily Moran from UCF, and I can't remember the others. But, they asked them, like, what kind of tournaments do the kids need to be playing in and that sort of thing. And, JC Deacon's coaching at the University of Florida. Now, yes, he has a strong team. They're top 10 usually in the nation, right? They make national championships. I think he had a kid who was on the Walker Cup team.
Walker Cup, yeah.
Right? But he's saying, hey, just get out there and play something. And I say to people every day, your son, he needs to stop worrying about the rankings. Rankings aren't going to get him recruited right now. What's going to get him recruited is relationships. So it's sort of, the coaches will use the rankings against you if they don't want to recruit you. That's when they say, oh, sorry, Sam, gosh, you needed to be in the top 200. That's where I recruit. Yet the coach will then go and still recruit someone who's 500. So if the rankings were that important, then every year only the top 200 or top 250 golfers would get recruited. And we know that every year, many juniors who are ranked well outside of that number get recruited and get the opportunity to play college golf. And parents say, how did that happen? Well, they made relationships, right? And a coach, they will get sidetracked on you if you're making that relationship. And they'll tend to try to make you fit in their program if you're close because you made an impression on them. And so I would say that Michael needs to get on the phone as well. He's getting ready to be a senior. The 2022s, they got the bad end of the deal, right? I mean, this COVID allowed those kids to reclass. Many of them have. If I was Michael, if I was Matthew, I think, and maybe Lauren, they were all, seems like maybe they're all 2022s. Maybe Jenny get ready to have a senior as well. There's still time this summer. There's still time this fall. I think that a lot of kids who say they're coming back, right, will start telling the coach maybe at Christmas time or whatever, hey, coach, you know how I said I was going to take that extra year? You know what? My parents, they're done. They're not going to pay for me to come here and play golf for another year. So I feel like that will start to sort of make its way out, but I could be wrong. That's Maggie's opinion. And they're not all college programs are fully funded. And especially on the boys' side, the money is very little. It's used a lot on internationals. So, most boys, I tell my boys, just, you want to get an opportunity. You want to get out there to be able to play, and then figure out the money, right? If that's what you're wanting to do. Or, hey, I hope you've worked really hard academically, because a lot of these schools, they can find money to help you academically. And that academic money can carry you a lot farther than the athletic money can. So hopefully I sort of answered that with the rankings. And the coaches are smarter than the rankings.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
We've done a disservice golf as a whole, in that the USTA has done it right. They start tracking kids early on. They have everything all in one place. They know how kids compare from all over because they have it all in one spot. And in golf, we have like 4 or 5 different ranking systems, and some people know how to play the ranking system, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to get recruited. So I think Michael has a great story here to frame that, hey, I'm not trying to rat these other kids out, but I stuck it out, coach. I'm gonna stick it out. When I have a bad day, I'm coming back and I'm playing again the next day. And coaches like that. They'll appreciate that.
100% agree. I saw it with my son, where he was playing and he had maybe a bad first round, and I remember one round he even had bad back issues, and he was still trooping out where other kids were quitting. And I told him, I said, in the long run, that's going to hurt them, because a coach goes to look and he sees a trend happening where this kid has one good round, 4 tournaments with the withdrawal, one in the middle of those withdrawals. It's a good round. And so I always taught my son, never quit,
Yeah. I mean, there's, people think that, oh, I have to play in these ranked events, and that's, all that I should be playing in. And you don't. I have a lot of junior golfers who are playing in the state am this week, and have done well. And a coach appreciates that they went through the qualifier, they made it, and they maybe made the match play, or maybe they just got, 2 okay rounds, but they didn't make the top 32. But they show that they could step up and play at the next level. They get probably lost some ranking points because they weren't playing in a junior golf tournament. But they communicate that, right? They communicate that back to the coach that, they felt that they should, play a reach type event to test themselves. So, and everybody's different, right? That's why there's Division I, there's Division II, there's Division III, there's NAIA. I'm 50-yard line on junior college. There are some really good programs out there. Gus Ulrich in Pinehurst he does a great job at taking kids that just weren't quite ready, more academically than athletically, get to through that and get to East Carolina or get to NC State or UNC Greensboro or something like that. Some even go play at App State. So that it varies around the country, and you would have to get to know the coach to find out
Maggie,
if they're good at feeding that.
Christina has a question.
Yep.
Okay, so I have 2 things. Both of these are things that, Matthew, we've already had some contact with, so I just want to get your advice on them. One is what you just mentioned, junior college. He did get contacted by a junior college, and I just want to know, is that a viable path to going, or what percentage would say junior college players go on to 4-year universities? And then the other thing is, as a plan B, if the whole playing in college doesn't work out, one of the things that we've been exploring is the PGA management programs, which are at like a dozen colleges around the country.
Yeah.
And so just wanted to get your thoughts on both of those.
So the junior college route, that has worked beautifully for the ones who are just gutsy and are determined to do it, right? They're only as good as Matthew is, right? Because you don't get quite as much guidance as maybe you would at a 4-year program, right? But sometimes that's all someone needs is, half a year or a year there. And they play a lot of tournaments, but you have to be self-driven to manage yourself because it's not quite as the same setting, say, as a college or university. That'd be number 1. Number 2 is the PGM program. So, I used to know how many there were in the country. Are there 12? Are there 16? I'm drawing a blank. I apologize. I'm a big fan. I know that at FGCU, you can't play on the golf team while you do the program, but at Methodist in North Carolina, you can play on the golf team and be in the program. So it varies by, there's one in the Eastern Shore of Maryland where you can play on the golf team and be in the program. And that's due to the internships that you need to do. So it's like these internships are like for a whole semester. So the coach has to be pretty flexible in that, knowing that, he's losing X amount from his team to internship spring term of whatever year, right? So not all of the schools allow you to play on the golf team, but the PGM program, they do have kind of tournaments themselves, right? So you can still stay in your game, and they have a championship every year. And I think they've even gotten to where some of the schools regionally have started doing some things together as well. So that's my thoughts on that. I think the PGM program's a great opportunity. If I wouldn't give up on that if that has interest to you. I would again start reaching out to those folks. The gal that runs the one down at FGCU is very energetic, and I'm just at the moment I can see her clear as day, and I'm drawing a blank. But she'd love to have you come down and show you around and have a visit and talk to you about the program, and you could probably get a pretty good feel for that. And that's very close. It's a day trip for any of you in Southwest Florida. In addition to that, reaching out to the coach at Methodist. He is a great guy and always looking for nice players. His name's Steve Conley, Conley. And they're competitive. They win they play Division III, and they win or go to the national championship a lot. So he's looking for good scores.
I believe it's Tara down
Tara,
there.
right?
Tara
Yeah,
McKenna,
thank you.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I could. Thank you so much, Brian. My brain just went.
She is really nice, and when my daughter was looking at that school, I talked to Logan about it and told him about the PGM program when he was maybe thinking about it. So we had some conversations, and it's an awesome school, and she's really nice and very helpful, and you get to play really good courses down there to practice on as part of the program. And like you said, there's tournaments, so it's good.
Yeah, and I absolutely, it's just it's a great option. So somebody asked, how important are national tournaments, or what are the right tournaments to play to get noticed? And it just depends on what level you're trying to get to, right? Are you trying to play for Vanderbilt or Wake Forest or North Carolina and these teams that are consistently going to the national championship? Yep, you probably need to be playing at a pretty high level, or definitely at least trending to that level. And you need to start emailing them early. They won't be able to reach back, but you need to. That you've got a Cadillac sitting in your driveway that's becoming a Ferrari, but they don't know because they're not driving up and down your street every day, right? So you have to reach out early and just start saying, I'm very interested in it. Why am I interested in the school? I know my scores don't currently match what are needed to play on a nationally ranked college team, but here are 3 things that I'm doing to improve and get better. And, I'll keep sending you an email once a month or once every couple of months. I know it's early, but I want to get on your radar, and let you see how much I'm going to improve over the next few years. But if you are trying to play at a Division II or Division III school, you're many of the D3s are of the higher academics. Some are not, but many are. But if you're academically eligible to play to achieve at some of these schools in the Northeast, and you're not afraid to going up there where it's cold, if you're a girl, they are, you can shoot 80 and they're interested because you can academically make it. They will find a way for your 80 to start working a little bit better every so often, something in the 70s, but 80s play at some of the higher academic schools at Division III. So I always caution people about overspending and thinking the AJGA is the only way, and if I'm not playing in that, I'm not going to get there, and that's simply not true. you can still get there. You can still get to the places you want to go to, but you're going to have to start reaching out. Parents, I would set up a email account, Mackenzie Sullivan 2025 at gmail.com or whatever, or hotmail.com. And both you and Mackenzie have a login to that so that you can start helping her, build a resume and some emails sent out and kind of keep track of it, right? I always caution people to not necessarily write the email for them, and certainly don't send it during school hours because they'll know the parent sent it right away. But they're going to need help, right? I mean, it's just the way it is, and it's okay to help, right? You're teaching them how to be able to take over the steering wheel and drive themselves.
Hey, Maggie, you mentioned golf resume, and I went through helping Logan sophomore, junior. We had different sources, and I've been given some examples, but I'm wondering from your perspective on the golf resume, and if they become a member or subscriber to your Will2Golf, do you have advice and templates and things on what they need to do with their golf resume?
That's a great question. And I do not have resumes up here because I don't believe in you copying someone else's. However, I will say that as a student athlete, you can't see these other students, right? But I'm going to just show you a young man here locally. Students can't see students. Students see coaches. Coaches see students. But I'm in as an admin, so therefore I can see them all. But this is a young man here. So he adds tournaments to his schedule, right? And then he puts in his scores, and we do all the calculations for him, right? So we come up with a scoring average for him for every year based on the scores he puts in. We give him like a top 5 scoring average, right? You see how he was trending down 71.6 down to 70.2. He's had a tough year this year, but and then we also have his 5 most recent at 72.8. So maybe he's trending back the other way. But one of the things that you can do is share your profile as a PDF, and then that's a golf resume right there. That's all they need to know. They want to know, who are you, where are you, what's your grad year, what are your goals, and what are your scores, right? So we help you build it, I guess, in a sense, Brian. Yes. But
Okay.
just to have someone else's to kind of copy, no, because I've gotten too many of those where it says, "Dear Coach Will, I'm Mary whatever," and the kid's name was, Sally. I mean, they just didn't pay attention. They just copy and pasted, right?
I've seen some that just focus totally on golf, and I've framed it as it's and you said it very well earlier. They're student athletes, and so the coach wants to know that the players can be able to balance golf, right, and academics. They're going to be meeting the grades, so they don't become ineligible. So I think I saw in there where they showed their GPA, what their high school was, and so that was my question, more like not copying somebody, but to making sure in general the content is there, like your scoring, what kind of tournaments, what high school did you go to, your academics, what are your goals, and then probably if they have a swing instructor or references.
And we have all of that. It's sort of a fill in the blank, right? So I guess in a sense I should say
You do
I do have a fill in the blank, but it's your blanks, not someone else's, right? So when we have the ability to add tournaments to your calendar, and I won't necessarily be able to add it because I can add it to anyone's calendar. You would only be able to add it to your own calendar, but you add it to your calendar, and then after that completion date, you go in and then you can add your scores, and we do all the calculations for you there.
So
So-
coaches, not only you and your staff, but then coaches that are interested in players, once this profile, which in essence is a player's resume, it's just you're guiding to create the resume by what questions, what
Yes.
information, then coaches can come to you or do come to you, and they can they ask you, or do they do a search, or let's say they're
Coaches
looking
can all log in, you know, whether
Yeah.
they do or they don't. And this is a great conversation, Brian. Is that when I built this site, I just imagined that this would be like this, you know, very wealth of folks, right? Coaches would always be in here looking, and players would always be in here looking, and there'd just be this great meeting place. And what I found out was coaches look when they want something, right? And players put up information when they want something. And the timing of it isn't always the same, right? So I'd love to tell you that they're always in here, but I have the logs and I see the craziest of things, you know, like, you know, University of Washington women's golf coach logged in 2 days ago looking around. I'm like, wow, gosh, that's kind of shocking, you know. I mean, like, okay, great, you know. And then, you know, I get a lot of Division III schools looking. I get a lot of phone calls, right? Because people don't want to spend the time in looking. They just want me to find them a player, right? Hey, Maggie, who you still got left over? I'm still looking. I'm da-da-da-da-da, you know? So here's a good tip, speaking of which, because this guy just called me. Okay, there's a school, and it's called Johnson and Wales. I think there's one in Miami. There's one in Providence, Rhode Island, and there's one now in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the guy who's running that program, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he came from Belmont Abbey. And the way he describes it to me is they get these kids guaranteed internships in hospitality industry, right? So hotel, hospitality, could be in and around golf. And I think it's like for, especially, no offense, boys, no offense, Matthew, don't take offense. Sometimes boys don't quite know what they want to do, right? So girls tend to know a little bit sooner. But the coach, the way he describes it to me is they help them get internships, and therefore when they graduate and they have played college golf, I think they're getting ready to go Division III. They might be NAIA right now, but they're going Division III. So that at the end of 4 years, you will have done 2 or 3 internships, just sort of like the PGM program, but maybe not necessarily at a golf course. And therefore you will have a resume for life already built, right? Which I think in today's world is very important, because so many young people graduate and don't have that, and it's hard for them to get jobs, right?
Yeah. Well, I know, Maggie, we want to be respectful of your time. We've been on over an hour and something, and so I wanted to see if there's any highlight thing you want to show Rick, anything else, maybe in the next couple of minutes on the resources you have through Will2Golf, and then we'll take maybe one question each from the parents.
So I just go to this Johnson and Wales right now because I just thought of that. So we have all the teams in here. Chris Jones is the coach's name. Brian, or if someone emails me or texts me in a bit and reminds me, I will send you Chris Jones's cell phone, because I know he's still looking for boys for 2022. It just dawned on me. I apologize for not coming up with that sooner.
Okay.
So it's a worthwhile pursuit to get to know Chris and to get to know his program and what he's doing there, and how that works. So just
all right. Well, I'll remind you, and then while you're on this page, so anyone that's working through as a junior through your Will2Golf, they have access where they can go in and look up stuff on each of these colleges, and coaches, and get information then? Is this something,
Yes.
this is not something just you can see as an admin, but they can
No,
see
no, no,
this?
no. The kids see all of the schools and the coaches, and some have gone on and put up, other information, and some just have the basic information. You have to realize, though, it is June, July, and there are, I think, 40 some college coach changes already this year. But
Right.
nonetheless, we have all the programs there, and we're constantly updating all of the information. But Chris is definitely at Johnson and Wales.
Okay.
So yes, they have access to the college directory and the instructor directory and the camp directory, and then coaches would have access to the student athlete directory. So kids cannot see other kids. It's private to you, but coaches can see your information. And then, like you say, it's easy for them to download once they build their profile, download it into a PDF, because most coaches will be like, oh, well, just send it to me, right? Because they don't want to spend the time
So
to
that's
come
cool.
looking
So
for it.
basically you help them create a resume by the profile questions, and then they can create that into a PDF. And when they're visiting a coach, they could print it out and hand it to them. Or they can tell the coach to continue following them. They have it, you have it here, right? So I guess
They
there's
can,
several.
or no, they can download it and put it right into an email and send it right
Okay.
away.
All right, cool.
So they can put in past tournaments, go search the database to find past tournaments, build it all up, put their scores in there. We'll whip it all out for them, and they'll have it right there instantly on the spot.
Very helpful. Anyone else have a burning question that they haven't asked, or they feel like the thing they wanted to get the most out of us, we haven't covered it yet? So maybe one question each around the horn. If there's anyone, and then I'm going to do the drawing. Got a lot of good questions. We appreciate that. Anyone else have any questions? I will get this post. Well, I'm letting you think. I'll get this link posted so you can see it. Those were in by phone and didn't get to see what was being shown on the screen. And then there was a couple follow-up things that we'll get out to you. The link on the YouTube, which I'm interested in seeing too. That sounds pretty cool. Any other questions anybody has?
Hey, Brian, this is Andy Hosier.
Hey, Andy.
I do have a quick question for Maggie. So obviously with coronavirus and camps have been either canceled or postponed, and they're starting to come back lightly, So here we are in the summertime. Maggie, how valuable is it for our athletes to attend a prospect camp or an ID camp at a campus? Is that a worthwhile time and financial investment, or what are your thoughts on those?
Possibly. I mean, the first thing I would do is reach out to the college coach as a junior golfer or a parent, and make sure that if you did come, quote unquote, they're not quote unquote recruiting at the camp, whatever, but we all know they are. So, if it's the coach that you want to have your child be nurtured by over the next 4 years or whatever that is, you'll find out a lot about the coach if you call them and you inquire about their camp. Hi, my daughter is getting ready to be a senior. She shoots these scores. Keep it simple. Don't go into and so then the other day when she played, and on the 15th hole, just keep it as simple as possible. Like, these are her scores. While she might benefit from coming to your camp to learn a few things, are you still recruiting for 2022? If your daughter's, I think she was getting ready to be a senior, right?
She's gonna go to junior, right, Andy? She's gonna be 2023, yeah.
Oh, so she's 2023. Okay, so you have a little bit more time. But that's sort of the thing that I would inquire about whenever I looked up these camps. You know, and hopefully they'll be honest with you and say, oh, you know what, as of right now, we actually are full for our 2023 class so far. We have offers out or whatever, or we're getting ready to make offers, but we still love to have her come to our camp. By the way, did you know we have these 4 other coaches who also come and teach at our camp? Because a lot of times other coaches come. So like at the University of North Carolina, the UNC Wilmington coach will come, and the Wake Forest coach might come, and the UNC Greensboro coach might come, and maybe the Appalachian State coach comes. So sometimes there are multiple coaches there, right? So that's another question. And so when it's another way too for you, Andy, to sort of, the coach can pick up the phone when it's a camp question. You know, they're going to call you back because they're making money, right?
Yeah.
So if you keep it about the camp a little bit, you know, and then, hey, by the way, are you still recruiting for 2023? You know,
yeah,
that's what I would do.
Great. Thank you.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Jenny.
It's Jen. Hey, Alyssa had a question. She's had several phone conversations with coaches, and she's kind of at this, and I'm not familiar with it. She's kind of at this point where, okay, what do we do next? What do I do next? What should I, you know, what's the next step after we've had, you know, some coaches, she's had 2 conversations. Some she's had more, and they do frequently text, and she's been updating them with, you know, scores and what she's doing. What's the next step?
Hey, Jenny, that's a great question, and Alyssa should call me. So
Okay.
Brian's going to give you my cell phone, and
Okay.
have her call me tomorrow afternoon. And if I don't answer, I'll call her back, but it might be Saturday. But I'd love to know the sort of questions she's asking and the sort of responses she's getting, and those questions that, you know, then I could better tell her how to sort of start rotating the conversation into. So, you know, there's a way to sort of ask without asking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I need to know how far down that road she is with them, or are they just kind of like, she's a 20.
She's a 22. Yes.
She's a 22. Okay, well then, yeah, that conversation should start moving along here, but it's going to take you or her, Alyssa, you know, to ask the right question. But I want to know what they're talking about right now before I tell you what to ask, right?
Okay.
This is Alyssa. I just wanted to say thank you.
Hi, Alyssa. Yeah, sure. Okay, yeah. Brian will send my
Hi, Alyssa.
phone number over. And good for you for stepping out there and getting involved in those conversations. You just, it's scary, right? You can tell these guys who are on the call. It's nerve-wracking. I mean,
yes, I never know what to say or what I should say.
Yeah. So I
Maggie,
have
to put a face with a name, you've seen probably my recording, but Alyssa won my longbow key match play.
Right. There we go. Yeah, sure. Cool. So, you know, I should do a better job in here, but somewhere I just sent out an email. Just Brian, you probably got it the other day.
Yes, your email newsletter.
Where I said like questions to ask, you know, and things to be prepared for. So can you send that over to Alyssa too?
Yeah, I will forward that to her too. Yeah.
And then that will help her. So that's, you know, the other thing, 2022s, you guys are in, you know, you're under the gun, right? So, you know, I'm happy to help you get over this hurdle if you need it. So,
hey Maggie, would you flash up your? I'm going to pick one of the juniors that took the time to be with us, and they're going to get a free initiation membership, and then you're going to show a discount code, right, for those that are interested as well that didn't win the drawing today, but can also get a discount for participating.
Yep. So if you select student athlete and go to the checkout, and then you enter the code here, and the code is UGEJR21. And when you click apply, you get like 25 bucks off. But I really want to make that better for y'all. So don't, if you want it, don't do it tonight. I loved every one of you here, and I want to help you more. So give me a few minutes to go in and make this a better offer for you if you're interested. And feel free to email me if you have any further questions.
So I am going to draw a name now. So give me the drum roll. Okay. And let's see who gets it. Michael Thomas is the winner.
Thank you.
Hey, Linda.
Right.
So we'll
That's
get
awesome. You know, yes, Maggie, because we have not done anything with anyone because we've just really not understood. And thanks to Brian, in the last, we just known him now a couple months. So he's been awesome. And this is just wonderful. Wonderful.
Okay, cool. Well,
Michael's a great kid. He's won several of my events. He's not only a good golfer, but as I say, in almost all the kids in my tour they're good human beings, they're respectful, and I want to see them succeed because they're the good student athletes. And sometimes they have it, they're just not informed, or they're not getting all the right information, and I want them to be armed with the right information and to have that door open. They're going to have to do some of it, as you said, on their own, right? But
yeah, I mean, there's just, there's knowledge is powerful, right? So it's like, you gotta just get out there and start absorbing it. And like I say, just when the Duke coach, I call him and I say, hey, I got the perfect kid for you, and he's this, that, and the other, and blah blah blah, and the coach says, oh, Maggie, call me in 2025. I got it stacked up. I'm all good. And then, 2 weeks later, I'll pick the phone back up and say, what was that kid's name? I had a change. I don't, so it's always, the landscape is always moving, and it's not like a straight, not like the same answer doesn't work for everyone. And that's why getting out there and communicating and making a friend inside of the industry, right? Making a friend with one of these coaches, whether it be at Division III or something, the sooner that you can get comfortable doing that, the better. So those of you who have the younger juniors, I can't recommend enough that you encourage them to, email or have a conversation, or, go visit one of these schools so that you can start getting a feel for that, and they'll, be a little less nerve-wracking when that moment comes.
I think you hit a point that we talked about the other day, Maggie, and then today is communication. And I know sometimes, for my kids, and all the kids, it's that first time communicating is hard. They don't know what to say, or they're going from interfacing with the same, the kids their age to now an adult. And you brought up something perfect today and yesterday, which is just because you communicated today doesn't mean that in 2 weeks you'll get the same answer. Something could have changed. Don't assume. If you really like the coach and you had good rapport, keep developing that relationship, because if it gets close, and they know you and they felt like you've reached out and you've got all those intangibles, that's going to help. And things can change within a week or two, like you said, which was kind of, I didn't think about it that way, but a kid could have got hurt, or a kid could have changed their mind. It's not coming. It's an international student. COVID hits and they had someone signed up from Germany and now they're not coming. Now they need a player.
Yeah, those things definitely happen. And another thing is, you want to build these relationships, because you just never know. You want your name to be the one that's passed around in between the coaches in a positive way, right? So, you know, Alyssa, one of these coaches that she's speaking with may or may not work out for whatever reason, right? Maybe it's not the school she wants, or maybe academically it doesn't fit her. She wants a higher academic experience. I'm just making these things up. I don't know. But if she has these relationships and the coach is impressed with her in, you know, these conversations, they don't have to be perfect. Not everybody's perfect, right? But you can ask a few thoughtful questions and, you know, answer a few things, then that coach is going to pass your name around, right, to another coach that they know. Or maybe they realize, oh, you know what, I really like Alyssa, but so-and-so's decided to come back and take an extra year. Or, you know what, it's just not gonna work out. If you make a good impression, they're going to do everything they can to help you, right? So, you know, you just, it's hard. Believe me, it's hard. You know, when I started building the site, you know, I was like a kid again, you know, and I'm having to reach out to all these folks to ask for their support and their interest. And guess what? The site blew up, and now I got to go build it again. And then I got to go back and I got to ask again. And I had one coach say to me, Maggie, it's okay. We're coaches. We know you're going to make mistakes. It's okay. We expect you to make mistakes. We just want to know what you're going to do and how you're going to respond to those mistakes. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, Maggie, we certainly appreciate you spending an hour and a half plus with this. I love the dialogue. I appreciate the parents and the juniors being on. A lot of great questions, and the insight you shared, Maggie, was awesome. So I will have this recorded. We will get those that didn't get the drawing win, which I will get that to you, Linda, for Michael. We will get a code out to you all, and we will get some of the follow-up things that we promised. So everyone have a happy and safe 4th of July. And again, we appreciate everybody on being part of this.
Hey,
Okay,
Brian, thank you. This is Jody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Maggie.
Thank you,
You're
Maggie.
welcome. Email
Thanks.
me. I'm happy to help.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.